How about this, gentlemen? Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to today's College Football Playoff National Championship Game Virtual Coaches News Conference. We will begin today's news conference with opening remarks from both coaches, and then we will take questions. We will begin with an opening statement from University of Alabama head coach Nick Saban.
Well, first of all, we're very honored to be here. Very proud of what our team has been able to accomplish this year, and would like to thank the College Football Playoff Committee and all the folks that work so hard to make this happen for giving us an opportunity to do it. I'd also like to congratulate Kirby and his team at Georgia for having an outstanding season and earning their way into the national championship game as well. They've been one of the most consistent, well-coached teams all year long, and it's certainly going to be a great challenge for us to have the opportunity to play them. Our players have done a pretty good job of trying to stay focused on what they need to stay focused on, but I think that's really one of the keys in these kind of games is, can you stay focused on what you need to do to try to execute and play well against a very, very good team. So that'll be the challenge for us as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, for both coaches, excuse this question, but just, it's only a chance to ask this going in, but I just wondered what both coaches thought of the transfer portal, the future of it, and how it's being used.
Coach Saban, let's start with you.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not very focused on the transfer portal right now, but I think the number of players that are in the transfer portal, I think everybody could make their own assessment of whether they think this is a good thing or a bad thing. I personally think that having resiliency, learning how to overcome adversity, doing the kind of things you need to create value for yourself and your future, sometimes difficult, sometimes hard, sometimes doesn't work exactly like you want it to work. But I do think there's benefits to people having to try to work through that. And, so I think now we have sort of I don't know if you want to call it a fad or whatever, but anybody that's a little discontented with the program that they're in, just, get into transfer portal and see what my opportunities would be someplace else. And I don't know that was the intention originally. And I hope it doesn't continue to be that way, but we're going to continue to try to create value for our players, personally, academically, and athletically, so they have a better chance to be more successful in life. And hopefully our players can buy into that. So they won't want to go someplace else, but a lot of this is based on playing time. And when you have 85 guys on scholarship, everybody can't start.
You mentioned the focus of your team, and Bryce talked about that yesterday. I know the rematch and Underdog Angles have been talked about a lot. So how has your team used or blocked those angles out ahead of another championship game?
Oh, I don't, when you say those angles have been used a lot, used by whom? I think a lot of external people talk about things like that. I think internally, we talk a lot about what do you have to do technically in the game to be able to have success in terms of your ability to execute probably against the best player you played against all year. So that's how you got to prepare, and that's how you got to focus. And that's what you need to be concerned about because I think once the game starts, 5 minutes into the game, I don't know that anybody's thinking about all this stuff that you all talk about. So they're trying to win their box. They're trying to do what they can do to help their team, both sides of the ball. So we expect that, and that's what our players need to be focused on.
This one's for Coach Saban. Coach, I asked your players yesterday as well, what is your definition of a successful season?
I think my definition of a successful season would be that every player in the organization, every player on the team would actually maximize his full potential based on his competitive character, discipline, work ethic, ability to overcome adversity, resiliency, to persevere and do things that are going to create value for him in his future. I would say that if every player in the organization could get to that point, that would be a successful season. Now, I know that I've always philosophically thought that's what college football is all about, helping players be more successful. We all get judged as coaches on how many games we win and lose. But I think if maybe everybody on your team has the right competitive character, attitude, discipline, whatever you want to talk about, that'll give you the best chance to maximize the team's chances to be successful. And so if the team reaches its full potential because every individual who made the team what it is did, then I think that's probably a successful year. And I don't know how that equates into wins and losses.
As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raised hand function. We'll take our next question from Naomi Gray.
Good morning, coaches. This question is for both of you. Given the history between you guys, although you'll be on opposite sides of the field come Monday, how special is it to be sharing this moment again with one another?
Well, from my standpoint, I think University of Georgia, Kirby's program is probably one of the elite programs, in the country. He's done an outstanding job there of making that program what it is. And obviously, the players and people that are in the organization have made that program what it is. And we certainly feel like, this is, the best team in the country that we have an opportunity to play. Most consistent team all season long in terms of how they played. And it's a tremendous challenge for us and really kind of an honor to have the opportunity to play against what we feel is one of the most elite programs in the country. And, probably just looking at the future, probably will be for some time in the future as well.
Yeah, this one's for Coach Saban. Kind of a two-parter on the offensive line. Just how has Emil Ekiyor progressed this week, and how important will it be for that group as a whole to play well again against Georgia?
Well, I think the biggest challenge in playing Georgia is they have one tremendous front seven. They got great size, really good football players, physical, very instinctive, really got great team speed. The linebackers are, Nakobe Dean and the group fast, react quickly, very instinctive. So if you want to have any success in this game offensively, you have to be able to at least control, those guys up front and their front seven to some degree. They have very good defense in total, but it starts with that. They create a lot of negative plays. They got some really good pass rushers that can be disruptive to the quarterback. So I think it probably starts up front in a game like this, and it's going to be, critical for us to be able to, play well up front in the offensive line to have any chance of being successful on offense.
Good morning. This question is to both coaches. How do you view the opponent's special teams? Your assessment, please.
Coach Saban?
I think Georgia has outstanding special teams. They have really good team speed, which usually lends itself to good special teams. They're very well coached. They've got really good specialists, which, always helps control vertical field position. But, their kickoff coverage is one of the tops in the country. They've got explosive returners in the return game if you don't do a really good job. They blocked some kicks this year. So, all around, this is a really, really good operation relative to all phases of special teams.
Good morning. The question for both coaches. I guess it was a few years ago, Coach Saban kind of told us with some of the rule changes that free agency was coming. And now we see the portal with some unrestricted transfers. We see NIL money. How has that changed how you manage the football team? And is there still growth for both of these programs in that area as the ground shifts?
Coach Saban?
Well, name, image, and likeness is a positive thing for, players. They have an opportunity to earn money, which they've always had the opportunity to do. This gives them an opportunity to do it by using their name, image, and likeness, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think what is a little concerning is how is that used to get players to decide, where they go to school, because I don't think that was the intention. I don't think that would be the NCAA's intention. I think we probably need some kind of national legislation to sort of control that to some degree, because I think there'll be an imbalance relative to who can dominate college football if that's not regulated in some form or fashion. And, the more we get to, players making money and players actually having the opportunity to make money, which I'm not opposed to, maybe there's some circumstance where there has to be some kind of an agreement between both the school and the player as to what their commitment is to what they choose to do, because that is something, making commitments and fulfilling them, that is probably important to having a chance to be successful.
Coach, you talk about, and your players talked about this for Coach Saban. Sorry, your players talk about this as a business trip. I want to know how your team has handled this trip and what the evaluation of this trip has been so far for Bryce and the team.
Everything that I've seen from our team, they've done what we've asked them to do. This has been a very hospitable place here in Indianapolis to actually come and visit. I think this is a great sports town, having been here for the Combine for many years and knowing the hospitality, the friendliness of the people here. But, our players have done everything that we've asked them to do. You never know exactly what's going on in the back of their mind. Even though they show up for practice and do what they're supposed to do, they're paying attention in meetings. But they have a significant amount of time where they're doing other things. So how they can sort of refocus when you need to refocus is probably the most important thing. And that's something that I've seen our players do a pretty good job of. I think it takes maturity, especially on the young players' part, to be able to do that. But it's been good to this point.
We'll take our next question from Rocco DiSangro.
This one's for Coach Saban. Coach, you and your players talk a lot about trusting the process. From a highly touted recruit in high school to stepping on campus and being a backup quarterback to now getting the start on college football's biggest stage, how have you seen Bryce trust the process over this last year, especially?
Well, Bryce does about as good a job as anybody we've ever had in our program in terms of how he prepares for a game, how he studies the other team, how he sort of knows the ins and outs of what we want to try to execute and what we want to try to do on offense. He's well liked by his teammates. He's a leader. And, he's got sort of a emotional stability about him that he doesn't really get frustrated or, upset in any kind of way, even when things don't go well. He's can sort of stay focused and keep doing what he thinks he needs to do to be able to have success, make adjustments, adapt to what he needs to do. He's a very, very mature guy, way beyond his years in terms of how he views what he needs to do to be successful. And he's pretty committed to it and has a pretty single-minded purpose in trying to get it done. And I think it does impact and affect other players on the offensive side of the ball.
We'd like to thank both coaches for their time today. That concludes today's coaches news conference. Hope everyone has a wonderful day.